Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our press conference with Executive Vice President Ribera on a competition case. Without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thanks to you all for coming to this press point where I intend to share with you a relevant decision that we have adopted today as a college. A decision stating that Delivery Hero and Glovo have infringed the European competition rules by participating in a cartel in the online food delivery sector. In this decision, the Commission also fines the companies a total of 329 million euros. Both companies, which are well-known brands in this sector, admitted their participation in the cartel and agreed to settle the case. The importance of this case is that it is the first time that the Commission is fining companies over a no-poach agreement. These are agreements where the companies agree not to hire or solicit each other's employees. This is also the first decision that shows how companies can misuse small stake in a rival company for anti-competitive reasons. And importantly, today's decision shows once again that competition rules matters to citizens' daily life. These rules matter because they sanction anti-competitive conduct relating to the meals that we order on our apps and to our online grocery shopping. These are rules that also matter to citizens as employees. They help us to ensure a fair labour market, a market where employers compete for talent and do not collude to limit the number and quality and opportunities for workers. In other words, the investigation shows that competition rules aren't just about keeping prices down. They also protect our freedom to choose, including where we want to work. Allow me to tell you a little bit more about this case. In July 2018, when Delivery Hero acquired a minority non-controlling stake in Glovo, this stake kept on growing along the years. Ultimately, the two formed one company when Glovo became a subsidiary of Delivery Hero in July 2022. The relationship created by a minority stake provided the two companies with a channel to coordinate their operations and strategies, and the investigations show that the parties used this channel to align their business strategies and exchange commercially sensitive information. They exchanged sensitive information beyond what it was needed for a corporate investor to protect a financial investment decision. Of course, owning a stake in a competitor is not illegal, but it may be problematic when that stake is used to gain inside information and influence decisions in ways that can harm competition. The investigation showed that the cartel included 3 interlinked illegal practices. All these practices are prohibited under Article 101 of the treaty. The first one, it is an agreement, concerted practice not to hire or actively approach each other's employees, the so-called no-poach agreement. The original shareholders' agreements included reciprocal no-hire clauses for certain employers. A few months later, the companies also reached a general agreement not to actively solicit each other's employees. This covers all employees, but not the riders. These types of no-poach agreements are a form of purchasing cartel. In such a cartel, the companies restrict competition for a specific input. In this case, the input is labor. In other words, companies stop directly competing for workers. This is not good for workers, as it is the type of agreement that suppresses wages and reduces labor mobility. In the same way, they prevent workers from moving where they can contribute most effectively to the economy. Therefore, no-poach agreements can also be bad for the affected sector, as they may have a negative impact also on productivity and innovation. Regarding the second infringement, it concerns to the exchange of commercially sensitive information. Delivery Hero's minority stake in Glovo allowed the development of a close relationship between the exclusive teams of the two companies. These ties went beyond what was required by Delivery Hero's monitoring of its financial investments in Glovo. This resulted in sharing of documents, including strategy papers, and holding meetings to share knowledge. The information exchanged included data concerning current pricing and future pricing intentions. It also included current or future commercial strategies, including new offers. The exchanges of this commercially sensitive information were two-sided. They enabled the companies to align and influence their respective conduct on the market. Basically, instead of competing because of the uncertainty around their respective market behaviors, the two companies sought to remain in a comfort zone with no incentives to improve the quality or the prices of their services. Let's go to comment on the third infringement. It is an infringement that concerns how Delivery Hero and Glovo divided among themselves the national markets for online food delivery in the European Economic Area. Delivery Hero used its role as a shareholder to convince Glovo to share markets in the European Economic Area in two different ways. Directly, by using or threatening to use its approval rights over specific decisions, and indirectly by influencing other Glovo shareholders. In particular, the investigation showed that the companies discussed and agreed which of them could enter markets where neither had a presence. They also refrained from entering national markets where the other was present. They removed their geographic overlaps by selling to each other their business in certain markets. This means that in a number of European Economic Area countries, if consumers were hoping to compare the products and prices in the Delivery Hero app and the Glovo app, they would not be able to do so. Based on the links between these behaviors, the Commission sees as a single and continuous infringement the case that I have just described. The infringement lasted 4 years, between July 2018 and July 2022, and covered the whole economic European area. Our decision finds Delivery Hero approximately with 223 million euros and Glovo with 106 million euros. Both companies settled the investigation. This means that they admitted the infringement and the responsibility. At the same time, they waived certain procedural rights, leading to a speedier and a streamlined decision. In exchange for settling the case, their fines were reduced by a standard 10%. I could say that today's decision shows our determination to take in actions against all forms of cartels. It also shows our willingness to have an active role in this consumer-facing sector. Consumers should have the benefits of competition when ordering meals or groceries online. We want to stress, once again, that horizontal minority ownership between competitors may raise risk if it facilitates anti-competitive conducts. Moving forward, we will continue to closely monitor potential anti-competitive business practices in consumer-facing industries. As you know, as we have repeated in many occasions, our objective is to ensure that effective competition is maintained to benefit European consumers and companies so that companies can compete fairly to serve Europeans. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. President, let's take some questions. Let's start here.
Hello. Mr. Ribera, Ms. Ribera, sorry. Perdone. I'd like to ask about the first time that you are, well, that the European Commission is, is punishing several companies for these non-poaching agreements. Well, I would like if this will be one of your priorities in your mandate, or is only due to the particularity of the particularity of this case. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the question. I could say that we have been very clear on the need to count on transparent behaviors in the market and to ensure that the antitrust regulation takes place so that any conduct that may undermine the rights of consumers can be tackled adequately in the competition regulation context. It is not because it is a particular sector that we take action. We try to take action on every single sector that may affect consumers or the level playing field in the market. This case is particularly important because of the two reasons that I have underlined. The first of them is that it is the first case when we state our understanding on why a no-poach agreement can undermine the level playing field in the context of taking into consideration the inputs, the supply, and secondly, because it is also important to show to what extent in the context of a mergers case, the minority position may be acceding to very sensitive information that does undermine the competition, the level playing field, the possibility to count on these incentives for any final consumer. So there may be other cases, we hope not, but we will be attentive to avoid this happening in any other sector. Of course, in this case, it is quite visible because everybody understands, any average citizen in the European Union is familiar to these companies.
Thank you very much. Tono, go ahead.
Hello, Tono Gil, Merger Market. I had a couple of questions. First one, there are several merger discussions going on right now in the delivery food sector. And with this president that said today with this antitrust decision, is this kind of behavior something that the Commission will be more attentive to in the future, especially when it comes to minority shareholdings and in the food delivery sector? And the other one, so this is the first antitrust decision dealing with labor markets, as you said. And as the Commission ventures into this area, are there any particular labor markets or workers that the Commission wants to protect the most, or that the Commission will prioritize in its antitrust enforcement? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the two questions. I think that the two of them are pretty interesting, and it is important to share our views with you. The first of them is we pay attention to this type of operations where a minority player may have an interest to access to sensitive information so that they can create situations that are not compatible with the regulation and with the treaty. And it is something that it is already ongoing under any circumstance of the competition services work. But of course, we will pay attention in a context where there may be many corporate movements in this point in time. Dealing with the labor market, I think that we live in a region where labor and social policies do count. We Europeans can be proud because we count on a high level of protection of workers, and we think that this is also part of retaining talent, ensuring innovation capacities, but also ensuring quality of life of Europeans. We think that the European society pays attention to these elements. We don't want being competitive because we launch a race to the bottom where nobody's paid, or we delete labor rights just to provide more affordable final cost for consumers. That doesn't last very much. But it is not the main role of the competition authorities. This is the main role of those dealing with labor markets and labor markets regulation. In this case, the connection is being made because we have a clear connection, a clear relation to this article of the treaty that shows that we can be thinking about colluding behaviors in the offer, but also in terms of the demand of the inputs that are taken into consideration by the providers of services or goods. So yes, of course, it has a very important impact in workers' rights, but we are not tackling this as part of the protection of workers as such. It is an evident effect, an evident consequence of our decision, but we are tackling this as part of an agreement to state certain conditions on how the companies could count on inputs at a certain price and in certain conditions, irrespectively of the willingness of the workers in this case, irrespectively of the capacity of suppliers to ensure that they are properly treated by any company when providing their inputs to the value chain.
Hi, Fu Yunqi from Reuters, Executive Vice President. Do you think the online business, the online tech business model facilitated such no-poach agreements? And the second question, can you give us some color on the cartel, about meetings, maybe WhatsApp, meetings in chalets, Swiss chalets? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the question. I think that there was a technical brief before explaining the details of this procedure and how we, of course, fully respected the rights of defense of the companies being involved, but also the rights of confidentiality of those that claim the whistleblower protection to ensure that the information is properly treated by the officials, by the officials in the DG competition in the services to take into account all the inputs to make their final proposal. So allow me not to comment into the details, but I'm sure that you had already a large view on the technical details that can be shared with the public connected to the investigation and the way we decided to set this final decision. On to what extent the digital platforms and the digital services may facilitate this type of agreements. I think it may be a little bit too much to say that it facilitates, but what it is true is that the digital economy is pretty different from the physical and traditional way to provide services or to provide goods and how the final prices may be shaped. So we need to learn how it works. We need to pay attention. We count on very relevant regulations, the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act, that intends very precisely to provide this capacity to count on dedicated rules and upfront definition of the obligations and the limits of the players in this new digital economy in such a way that we protect consumers, we protect the level playing field, and we have no doubts on what it may be done and what it may be considered an infringement.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Lewis Crofts, MLEX. Thanks for coming down. 2 questions. The first one on minority shareholdings. They're very normal. They're normal also amongst competitors. They're an important source of finance and support for businesses to grow. Where's the dividing line? Is there a risk here that you might chill investment at a time when Europe needs investment? First question. The second question is, you talked about the importance of consumer-facing industries. European Commission in this portfolio usually goes after plastics and chemicals and industrial, machinery. So what are the consumer-facing industries that have caught your eye for action? Thank you.
Well, I could say that yes, it is frequent, and I think it is not necessarily bad. On the contrary, it may be very good that there are minor shares in a mergers operation that want to count on a bigger size, so to be able to develop better and to improve the quality of the services or the share in the market. And I would say that entering into this position and being able to access to relevant information to be sure that the investment decision is sound is perfectly normal. What it goes beyond that in this case is that this access to this information was not intending to count on a well-informed decision to be a prudent investor or to assess the risk of that investment, is that they were concerting practices and sharing sensitive information on today's prices, on tomorrow's prices, on strategies. So sensitive information that is not required in order to be part as shareholder of a certain company, but that it could prevent any type of competition in a given sector, so to reduce the possibilities, the options of consumers, but also the options of other eventual competitors in this very same field. So I think that this is around these lines that we need to pay attention to what it happened in this case and to pay attention in the future to avoid this happening in other sectors through this possible access to information to assess an investment decision.
Thank you, Rakel Lennartsson, Swedish freelance journalist. Thanks for the briefing. And this question is maybe a little bit technical, but not only, I think. So when you first discovered this illegal cooperation, how was that happening? In the presser, you mentioned one national authority signal problems, and then you also received signals from whistleblowing tool. So I would be very interested in knowing how important this whistleblowing tool has been in discovering this. Thank you.
This is a technical question, sensitive. As you were pointing out, I could share with you some insights to the extent I can read. So the investigation started in 2022, and it was the Commission ex officio who decided to open a market monitoring exercise initiated in response to contextual information that seemed to point out by a national competition authority and by an anonymous whistleblower testimony that there was something that was not going on reasonably well, but on the contrary, that may be suspicious. On that basis, in June 2022, the Commission carried out announced inspections at the premises of Delivery Hero in Berlin and of Glovo in Barcelona. It then continued the inspection of the evidence collected at the Commission's premises in autumn 2022. And in the course of these investigations, the Commission extended the scope of the investigation to cover additional contacts. On that basis, a second round of announced inspections at the parties' premises took place in November 2023. And on the basis of the information being collected, the services of the DG Conf started with an in-depth investigation and work on, how to say, according to their normal way to work.
Thank you, Luis. Not Luis, sorry, Samuel.
Thank you, Executive Vice President Samuel Stolten at Bloomberg News here. Just to go back to the earlier point about the importance of ensuring fair competition across labour markets, particularly in consumer-facing industries. Could you be a bit more specific about those consumer-facing industries that interest you? What are the industries that you feel perhaps consumers are most harmed by these types of practices? And what sort of an insight can you give us for the future in terms of this type of enforcement action? Thank you.
Well, I could say that the main point I wanted to make is that this is a case that impacts directly on final consumers. And as such, it shows to what extent what we do has a positive impact in the day-to-day life of any average consumer in Europe. It is not that we are going to focus on whatever sector because it is directly related to final consumers. Of course, we will work on a serious basis on whatever situation we may identify as relevant or having a competition showing a behavior against the competition law, but not because we have a specific determination to focus on one sector or another one.
Hello here, Daniel Ibeña from El Mundo. I will ask in Spanish if you don't mind. Vicepresidenta, le quería preguntar por la comunicación de la semana pasada de la Comisión en relación con la operación BBVA Sabadell. Desde el Gobierno español se está criticando lo que consideran que es una intromisión de Bruselas en una cuestión nacional. Quería saber qué opina de esas críticas y si considera que son acertadas. Y también, dada su amplia experiencia en el Consejo de Ministros de España, me gustaría preguntarle si cree que es adecuado que el futuro de esta operación se vaya a decidir en este foro, en este ámbito. Gracias.
I will reply, I'll answer in English. Just to say that if I am not wrong, we, the members of the College of Commissioners, but also the services of the Commission, do not normally comment on ongoing cases.
Thank you. Another question? No? So that would be all for today. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks very much. Kim McCrail from the Wall Street Journal. I actually have a question related to a different case. I'd like to take you back to the Digital Markets Act cases, the Meta and the Apple fines. And I'm wondering, EVP, if you heard any response directly from the Trump administration after those fines were issued a little more than a month ago, I think now. And also, Meta said in its response at the time that it considered what it was being ordered to do to be effectively something like a multi-billion-dollar tariff on the company, which is language that we've heard from the Trump administration before, using the terms of tariffs or taxes related to tech regulation. Can you respond to that suggestion from Meta about a multi-billion-dollar tariff? And lastly, sorry to add another one in here, but given the ongoing trade negotiations with the US, do you at this point expect tech regulations to play any role there? Thanks.
Okay, if I took it right, there were several issues being raised by you. One of them is how we assess any type of reaction coming from Apple or Meta on the already adopted decisions, and I could say that, of course, we adopt decisions based on the enforcement of around regulation, and we try to be quite sound in the way we finally adopt these decisions. But anyone willing to go to court to challenge these decisions can do it. So I think that legally speaking, it is pretty normal and pretty okay that any company having doubts on the decision that we have taken may come up to defend their rights to the court. Then there is a second part of your comments, to what extent there may be any type of related impact with the statements being made by the White House and the connection to the discussion on the tariffs being announced by President Trump. I could say that it is very, very important to insist on the fact that what we are doing is just applying the existing regulation. So to protect consumers, the enforcement of the law is not subject to any type of political negotiation with anyone. It is just to ensure that those willing to take part in the European whatever market, they comply with the law. And these regulations that are from any eventual perspective, I would say quite advanced regulations, and that facilitates the protection of consumers, and both industrial and families, in such a way that it is effective, it is shorter, it is cheaper than just wait till the end after a very long period to state that there is something that does not work well and that it may imply a fine. Can be avoided because you have this upfront regulation that states what can be done, what cannot be done. So it is expressed in the specifications decision in the case of Apple, so to showcase how we can prove the compliance with this regulation, and it should not be tackled as any type of political response coming from the Commission. Then we enter into the tariff discussion, which is mainly focused on to what extent there may be tariffs dealing with goods and being stated on an unilateral basis by the White House. And I think you know already what is the answer of the Commission, and we hope this can be reasonably clarified and solved. We still consider that this is not the way to proceed, and there is no basis to take these decisions on tariffs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, just a follow-up.
Thank you. Thanks for that. I just wanted to check, was there any response directly from the Trump administration to you regarding those fines that were issued against Meta and Apple?
I didn't get your question. No, not at all.
Okay, one very last question, please.
Maybe you already answered this, and I apologize. Razia Akoch, AFP News Agency. I'm really sorry, because trying to do Delivery Hero at the same time. It's related to Kim's question. Did you say that anything, because in the press release in April it said within 60 days, did you already explain whether Apple and Meta have contacted, like the details? Have they said they're going to comply, or have you already answered that question and I didn't hear?
No. I was stating that they are in the right to go to the court in case they want. There may be any type of decision coming from any of these companies to go to the court, but I cannot comment on any. Sorry.
No, it wasn't a question re-court, because the thing is, you say they have to comply with the Commission's decisions. I was saying, was there some positivity that they would comply, not court?
So they will comply, yes. Well, there are 60 days
We're nearly
deadline.
40 days.
Well, we will see. So they are working with the services in the Commission, and we know that there are some attempts to improve their interoperability in the case of Apple, and to comply with the decision being taken on Meta. And let's see how things go on and how they are able to provide these improvements in the way they operate.
Super. Thank you very much, Executive Vice
Okay.
President. And thanks a lot for attending.
Thank you.